early game dominance that we talked about pre-show.
Yeah, this is what we want to see out of V5. They are early game, bust or go home, basically. So actually, both of those are negative. What am I doing? There, you go big or you go home. That's the V5 mentality. I really want to see what ppgod does here. Like, we talked about, ppgod has the most kills participated at 15 minutes out of any support in the LPL. He's better than Ming. He's better than guys like Mako. He's really roam-centric. And I'm sorry, I just can't help myself every time I see Trigger with the hairdo. We were talking about this. He looks so much like Scout. Like, they have the exact same facial features, but just with a different hairdo. So definitely a different person, though. I will say that. And
okay, good. I mean, if they weren't, that would probably be a very big issue for the league.
That'd be a big investigation. But I want to see if ppgod actually still roams towards the top side this time around. We were talking about V5 as being a very Herald-focused team, but right now they are putting Langx back onto that comfortable weak side champion in the Sion. So I want to see if they leave that top side alone and if they pivot or not away from the Herald plays.
Because you've got the Tristana, right? So the fact is, we're still expecting mid lane priority, and at the very least, you know, Tristana versus Ryze, we expect the wave clear for Ryze to build up, but for Tristana, of course, with Satchel Charge, it's so easy to clear the backline, as, you know, Munchables, the AD carry player, has said many times on broadcast. So we'll have to see, Clement, which priority affects the Herald, and, you know, if that top side can be achieved. We are looking at our screen, and we can see from the side angle there that they are currently in the pick ban. Just finishing off from what my brief hint showed me, and we'll be getting into this game. Again, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the delay. We're a little bit behind in this one, but when we do get in, we don't know. If V5 find that early window, then the game could be over quick. But for OMG, we already mentioned snowballing here, getting that Kayn into a really good position, getting the early transformation, especially with blue Kayn, feels really, really nice. A lot of solo queue players can weigh in on this and kind of feel what I'm saying, that you get that early transformation. Blue Kayn is so agile, so mobile, and the fact that you can pretty much W with Umbral Trespass, run into lane, kill, then move on is just an amazing feeling when you're ahead in this game.
It is the R that's the Umbral Trespass, and the W is actually the Blade's End, which does get you a slow, and you can actually run forward during the blue Kayn. So we do have to talk about why people are actually going for the blue Kayn a little bit more. The strengths of it is that it's very good against backline targets. It's very difficult for them to actually itemize against it correctly, because blue Kayn as an assassin actually does a lot of magic damage coming out of his kit. That's very unexpected for an assassin coming out of the jungle, especially building lethality for that to happen. So there's a lot of different damage types that he can actually tag you down with. He has a great ability to dodge out on crowd control with Umbral Trespass and going into the terrain just with the Shadow Walk as well. So he's very difficult to nail down for champions like Rell or for Alistar to actually stun him before he gets on top of the AD carry. And if he starts snowballing, he has that Prowler's Claw to enhance his damage as well. So super high kill threshold, very difficult to deny for a support with crowd control targeted at him. And if you think about the bot lane, especially coming in on blue side, there's just so many angles that you can take. You can take the Shadow Walk from the just go around from the Drake pit, connect that up to the blue ramp, and then just go around through the terrain. Like, you can do a triple wall jump with that when you get the blue Kayn. So it's very, very potent going up against red side bot lanes.
We get to see if Arky gets off the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting so patiently. We are now finally into Summoner's Rift, and we're just talking a little bit about this Kayn pick, how crucial it is to going to get ahead early. And for OMG, also playing towards that bot side, you mentioned the availability of Arky getting in that lane and affecting it. And here on the blue side, he's going to be going for the Dark Harvest. And something pretty standard that we've seen, it's either been Dark Harvest, I'm not even sure if we've seen the Electrocute, but no Conqueror, which means you're seeing the blue Kayn, of course, in this meta. Again, the Glass Cannon. So, yeah, that's what you really want to see. On the other side, Clement, just quickly while we have the runes, double Hail of Blades, we expect from Kaisa. You also mentioned in the champions like before that for the Tristana, this is really good trading and is something that commonly seen.
What is really scary about Tristana is she has a great level 2 all-in, especially on targets like Ryze that don't have gap closers to escape. So if she tags you with the rocket jump, it's a 60% slow. It's very difficult to walk out of that one. So if Wuming gets tagged by that one, it most likely will mean that Mole will be able to get the reset, especially with Howl of Blades on the explosive charge. I'm sorry, on the rocket jump itself with the explosive charge. So that means a double jump and a flash to follow up onto it. Extremely powerful. We are going to see how Wuming tries to play this one out. If he pushes too far forward, it's definitely possible for just a level 2 all-in.
We've already seen a pretty harsh push here from Mole. He cleared out the wave, then he went and put the red ward down at the Raptor camp. Sees it's still up and knows that Aki has started on the top side of the map as Cold takes a heavy trade. Second skin procs and Trigger just wins out. That was plain and simple for V5.
You know, Rell is a relatively new champion, and we have been seeing this champion's strength kind of fluctuate based on how well people play against her. And I think what we have been seeing is a lot of supports have been able to stop the crash down in its tracks. She's really countered out quite heavily by Alistar and also Thresh for that same reason. Just the Pulverize is able to stop her in mid-air. She doesn't get the knock-up, she doesn't get the stun, and she just falls straight up to the ground. And here comes that all-in.
He talked about it, but doesn't get the final touch of the charge. Still, that's a half health trade here from Molt. Walks out the better and still has a biscuit and a pot. Wuming might have to burn his soon as he started with a tier. And we'll have to get pushed back in this lane.
I do want to touch on Ryze a bit as well. I think he's a big sleeper pick in this patch. He's one of the best champions with the Archangel staff. And ever since that was buffed in 11.1, I think Ryze's win rate has been absolutely tremendous. He's riding right now like globally beyond 55%. So this is a champion that I think a lot of people, especially with the meta slowing down, will start to gravitate towards. He's really good in the side lanes. He scales super well with the death cap build. He has a lot of AP to back that one up. And I think people just haven't realized that there is such a strong champion in their midst right now. It's so crazy that he even has a good win rate against traditionally hard counters like Orianna and Twisted Fate.
And he's got versatility rather in the mythic item as well. We have seen people like Mole pull out the Rift Maker on him too. I think I've even seen a Night Harvester. Clement, I'm kind of spacing on what the main one is. The Liandry's Torment, excuse me. Even the Luden's Echo. Like, there are so many avenues you can see with the Ryze. So I will watch and wait as to what he builds up against Mole here in this game number 1. Just going to transition a bit here because we saw that WeiWei was onto the top side, but New didn't over-push the wave, didn't follow that huge minion wave building up. Aki now spotted on the bottom side, and WeiWei has rotated.
It's always really important to track when Kayn actually gets that transformation. We have seen games where he gets it really fast, or games if he gets it really slow, like the Tarzan game, then he can lose a lot of impact. The 12-15 minute mark is really where you want to see him get that going down and go into the blue Kayn already. Now, this is why Kayn has always been a little bit fringe in terms of competitive play. Usually people play a lot safer. It's harder to get your stacks as a Kayn. And if you stick in your original form for too long, you can just fade from relevancy.
You want to find some of those skirmishes in the jungle, right? If it's a pure one-on-one with WeiWei, just get a small trade, get the orbs that you need, and move on from there. But WeiWei, he's got other ideas right now. Wuming's going to get tagged up. WeiWei's just interested in the camp and using that priority we talked about that Mole would have in this lane, this constant shove to go up and invade.
Oof, this is really detrimental to OMG's strategy. Whenever there's a Samira, she does need to snowball. She's not a champion that does that well when she's behind the curve. And if you look at the map right now, there's almost no chance for Aki to actually influence the bot lane. So we are going to see ppgod and Trigger just continuously shove right here and have an amazing presence.
Oh my god, that's what happens when you land rocket jump with a satchel charge. Well, Wuming's not going anywhere anytime soon unless it's back to base. And that was just harsh to see. I do have to correct you a little
bit. It is the explosive charge. Now that I'm a play-by-play in the PCS, I can finally follow up with these.
Nicely done, man. Look, I'm even going to type it into my document, bro. Explosive charge? You're so right. I said satchel. As Mole actually going to get ganked here by Aki, but it happens again, this time with the jungler, and even ppgod roams up to match Cole.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful early on coming in, and I do want to see what the items are coming out from Tristana. You know, Blade of the Ruin King is one of those go-to items, very, very powerful, helps with the sustain and just solo lane trade that Tristana wants to do in the solo lane, but there has been sort of different variations on what she does pick up for the Mythic. We have seen a good mix of sort of like the Immortal Shield bow come out, and also Gale Force. Both of them are quite viable depending on if you're ahead or not into the game. But that's something that we can pay attention to. But with the mid lane continually shut up, V5 feels super confident in heading towards this Drake.
Especially when you do the same trade twice. Is actually Lilting Lullaby time is going to be blocked away. I believe that was Eric's World. As WeiWei goes in, gets the smite down. Aki ready to trespass in someone's territory, but won't go over, and the first dragon is killed by V5.
Super strong play coming out there. It's just the bot lane being constantly shoved up. And if you look at the positioning from ppgod, he's always shadowing right in front of the Kaisa, which means that the crackdown should be able to come in.
ppgod actually too far forward, and you know what, Clement? Maybe you shouldn't have said anything. Eric's gonna get first blood.
Okay, the body slam should have come down. It didn't, and now it might be a double.
Can he kill Eric? He flashes into him, and you know what? Maybe Cold shouldn't have gone for the engage with the flash, and Eric burns both his summoners, and Trigger just says, thank you, I'll stay in the lane.
Yeah, not what they wanted to see out of that one. Definitely a mistake on the second play. The first play was also a little bit suspect for me. I felt like if you had body slam, you definitely could stop the crash down in mid-air. ppgod doesn't get the interrupt. He goes down, but hey, his AD carry actually trades it back. So at the end of the day, that actually comes out in favor of Trigger and V5.
Yeah, you stay in the wave, you absorb the experience, you get to push it out and find a really good back timing here as well. So it feels bad after what was a good punish towards ppgod, but hey, OMG up towards the top side now. Going to be on a ward and even moving cold up. So this could be a really good herald that Aki can start snowballing, adding some pressure on OMG's behalf.
This is what I wanted to see what V5 would do afterwards, because this game, they definitely don't have the stronger top jungle. If they don't have this herald, V5 has actually looked quite lackluster in the mid game. They really rely on this herald quite a bit to crack open mid lane towers, and as we said, they do have the second best herald take in the LPL. It's not going to happen this time around with that Aatrox versus Sion matchup, though.
Remember, 2 out of 3 times when a herald is up, V5 take it. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see if the second one goes over. At the very least, though, I like that you pull up that early game percentage, the way of V5 managing these games. I guess not. First 15 minutes of the game are crucial here for V5, and they're already 1,000 gold ahead, but the herald could definitely change that and put Aki into a better position. He's already so far down, Clement, after what we've seen out of WeiWei. He's 25 CS down at 9 minutes in the game.
Like, once again, Kayn is one of those picks that definitely feels better in scrims than it does on stage. In scrims, everyone is limit testing, everyone is skirmishing, and this time around, I don't think we've seen Aki actually be able to tag anyone. Like, he hasn't been able to get any of those ticks. Maybe just a Blade's End onto Molt, but that's it. Like, that's the only orbs he got.
Yeah, it feels really, really bad, and means he's going to stay uninvolved for quite a lot of time. WeiWei keeps taking his jungle away too. He's on a roll with 2 level lead, and this is just why. I mean, Lillia clears so fast. She's so agile. She's so mobile, and there's nothing you can really do. Look, Aki's going to get depressed, and ppgod's going to keep bullying him down. They're spotted on the ward, and WeiWei's just waiting.
I believe they have spotted WeiWei as well here, just by the ward in the Raptor pit.
Yep.
And taking a look at this bot lane, it's pretty much been V5's side of the jungle. Right now, Aki's only farming 1 quadrant, while V5, with the mid lane priority and with their bot lane prio, has been able to constantly keep control of the Raptors. Aki is someone that is dying for a family bucket right here, because he hasn't seen any poultry for a while.
Yeah, true. He's left with the popcorn chicken, and that's not enough to feed a man. I would even say that he's left with the potato and gravy, but I'm going to give you a bit of a hint. I think that's made with leftovers. So OMG kind of just waiting for an overstep from V5. Aki sitting here with the Herald, and the play gets fizzled out. WeiWei doesn't even need to be nearby. Trigger and ppgod pay respect.
ppgod showing up right in time, and this is something that's actually quite powerful about the Gragas, is that he can easily deny Herald picks because he can clear out the entire minion wave if he so chooses to. ppgod's already level 6, he does have the explosive cast right there. He can make sure that they can take shots onto the Herald before it ever touches the tower, and with him showing up right there, Aki doesn't really have a choice at least he gets a consolation prize by finally meeting his long-lost family in the Raptors.
Yeah, I think that's the first time, or at least the second time in this game, that he's had the Raptor camp available. But when we saw him waiting in that bottom lane, Clement, just remember, he lost CS once again, right? You know, WeiWei was able to sprint back to his jungle and continues to absorb his family, which is pretty much 3 sides of the map, blue, red, and other red. Herald now going to get placed down here in the mid lane, trying to give it over to Wuming. Mole in rotation might be called out. There's the flash with the Magnet Storm popped early. Can Mole get away? The rocket jump not used, almost kills Wuming, but it is a good kill going over to OMG while WeiWei and ppgod try to stop mid.
Really beautiful catch right there by Aki. Uses the crash down and the ultimate just instantly. Make sure that none of the abilities from Mole actually come down. It was a perfect CC chain. They get the 2 tower plates, and this is going to stop the Drake stacking coming in from V5 as well. So V5 is going to find it harder to actually get that front-to-back 5v5 that their composition has excelled at.
Feels nice to at least pick up an objective when the early game looked like it wasn't going anywhere. The Herald placement as well, I believe, in the end, goes down and gives some gold to Wuming, or at least Aki in the jungler who placed it. New moves back mid, pushes out the wave, and that's a bit of gold onto the Ryze after the kill too, picking up his first one. We'll be able to go back and get the Lost Chapter, and already had the tier stacking with the Seeker's Arm Guards, so a lot of components in the inventory for Wuming right now, but he is still stacking up, he's still farming up. And Clement, this is a really good time to ask you about scaling if OMG aren't able to find early game access that you mentioned is needed for Kayn, and where the Ryze and Samira can fit in if the jungle doesn't find something in this game.
So OMG, their first strategy in snowballing bot lane and Kayn definitely has failed. That's not going to come to fruition. Yes. I think he's too far behind right now to actually have impact over WeiWei. So they are going to have to drag this game super late. Probably look at a 35+ minute game in order to take this one and just win it out of the 1-3-1. So in terms of scaling, it can still happen, but it's not going to come until the very late phases of the game. And in the meantime, I think V5 with Sion and Gragas actually have enough engaged to just accelerate the game pace. I think a lot of times OMG, before they can set up their side waves, they're just going to get engaged upon mid lane. So things looking quite grim from OMG. They definitely still have an out, but that out is very far beyond the horizon.
And at the very least, there's still good scaling on V5, right? We have the hypercarry Tristana, we have a Kaisa who's very inept in these fights. You already mentioned in the pick and ban how these 5-on-5s are gonna work, and from here on out, I think we're gonna start seeing them with V5's composition having that front line. They have a lot of disengage, a lot of displacement, and follow-up CC too, so feels like the easy to execute comp is there, and V5 for now will just keep the game going as it is, absorbing farm on some of these crucial carries, waiting for the next dragon, and at least just putting Mole in a position where he can counteract a play that OMG trying to set up.
We are seeing V5 head for the second Herald as it's just about to come up right now. I think New might be a little bit too deep here.
Yeah, look, he's a beefy boy. I don't know if you think you're going to kill him. World End is going to be used. Here's the flash immediately. It's sleepy time here for New, and Mole coming in as well won't be good. Healing's great. He flashes on top, but Aatrox now outside of the World Ender. Mole jumps on top, and with a charge, an explosive charge, thank you, Mr. Chu, Mole will pick up his first kill.
Even though he does go down, that actually dragged out so much time on the side of V5 that they're going to get a free bottom lane for this. We already saw Aki finally being able to return the jungle favor, the counter jungle favor, and also force out the bot lane right here. So if you look at the gold lead, it actually didn't end up that poorly for OMG, dragging 3 people down, and they actually get first brick gold too.
They do. That little bit extra. I like casting with you, Mr. Chu, because every time I say first brick is important, Lyric says no. It says doesn't matter. It's about, what did he say, tempo or something colorcaster brain related. You know,
hey, 300 gold is 300 gold, okay?
Yeah.
Don't let that gold go to waste. You gotta save your money, you gotta invest, and you gotta like grow your portfolio. So really important.
You know, before bagging out Lyric, maybe I should have remembered the quote so I don't just kind of edge him out on broadcast. I'm sorry. Well, at the very least, look, the gold comes back a little bit of a swing, though, because the top turret does get traded off in the end, but you're right. The first brick is something, and when you're the team that's far behind, trading is always better. So for OMG, get some necessary gold on Eric. He now has himself the Kraken Slayer, oh my god, Immortal Shield Bow, excuse me. And the boots in tow too. So he is catching up with Trigger, who has a bit of a CS lead, who has a bit more gold in his back pocket heading towards the collector. But it's still something when you consider that OMG are going to be relying on Eric and Wuming, of course, with the Luden's Echo now picked up, Luden's Tempest, to get them in to a favorable position in this game.
This is going to be the most difficult part of the game coming in from OMG. If you look at V5, they already have a very tanky front line. The Sion Turbo Chem Tank already completed. WeiWei went Zhonya's first against the AD damage, and Gragas is there as well. So I don't really see OMG having a chance of taking this 5v5. They are going to have to give up a lot of objectives, and it looks like V5 are setting up for not just one Herald play, but potentially a second Herald drop as well.
Explosive cast wasn't too great. Langx staying a little bit too long, Mr. Chu. There's the charge out as Cold gets the engage. Sets up for the trigger for Eric to come in, but the Lilting Lullaby may have saved the day. ppgod on his lonesome as V5, you had a lead, and now it's going downhill. Decimating Smash finds the knockup, might save the lives once again, as Langx overstayed his welcome to lead into OMG slaughtering too.
Oh, I don't know what's with me today, but the caster curse is strong.
Yeah.
I really thought that V5, their composition definitely has an advantage in the front to back, but you can't really give over half of your HP, and the backline also dies instantly right there. So, I don't know, man. V5 definitely overplayed their hand into that push. I think the backline wasn't synced up with Langx. If you saw Langx charging up the decimating smash in the front line, the rest of his team was already backing away. They were like, I think we should turn for Drake. I think we should turn for Drake. And that doesn't happen. Just look at this. They use up their disengage tool at the start of this fight. Langx goes so far forward. The rest of the team is wanting to go backwards, and he has to use an ultimate on nothing. Meanwhile, Trigger dies for absolutely no gain in the battle right here. He's just clobbered down by Rell with all of the crowd control coming into him. And this should have been the strong point in V5. This should have been their greatest snowball moment. They had a great advantage from front to back. There was still double tiers stacking on OMG. And somehow OMG just win the entire thing.
What the hell was
It's
that?
really sad to see.
Dude, not only the, discoordination, the not essential communication between Langx and the team, but Mole rocket jumps into Raptor Pit, and then he's like, okay, I've done some damage onto Arky, but Arky doesn't get pulled out from the E in the wall. It actually goes on the other side. And then the Lilting Lullaby was decent, but Mole's like, what do? Do I flash? Okay, I'm going to walk around. Wait, I'm going to go back into Raptor Pit. Do I flash? Okay, now I'm flashing and the fight's already done, so I don't know, man. That was just horrible, and yeah, horrible's the right word to put it. And, we talked about V5, 91% win rate when they're ahead at 15. They have been ahead at 15 in this game, and let's just see if this is the 9% that could hurt them, because now for OMG, they've caught up in a little bit of gold. They win that fight that V5 decided to hand to them, but V5 is still ahead in this game somehow, some way, and they're going to try to claw back some of the lead and clean up the gameplay we just witnessed.
Yeah, I do have to clean up your math as well. Just because they win 91% of the games where they're ahead at 15,
or they could be
doesn't mean that 9% of the time they actually are able to come back at a deficit.
True.
Their comeback rate in deficits is 0%. So I just want to clarify that.
Hey, no, you're good.
Going from the stats, it doesn't mean that they have a slimmer. It means they're almost hopeless. So
okay.
I do want to correct the math there. A little bit of intricacies right there. I want to stress that was a fight where V5 held all the cards. They had all the map control. They had a composition from front to back. But when you waste two ultimates, like Langx and ppgod just did in that one, you just can't win. That's definitely an execution error coming out from V5.
So the 9% is games going even, Clement. Is that correct? Is that what I'm looking at?
The 9% means that, okay, so if you win 91% of your games when you're ahead at 15, it means you don't win 9% of the times when you're ahead.
Thank you.
Just correcting
what's the Baron rate?
Logic.
What's the Baron rate? Because Baron's being started up, and look, yeah, it's a quick Baron, especially when Trigger's there, but he wasn't. They'll be pulled off. They had vision control, and OMG now going to be clearing that up. They're spotted out towards the blue area, and V5 are still waiting around. Decimating smash onto Cold. That hits. Explosive cast. Ooh. Support caught out. Cold used the ultimate, but it might not work out as a Pelham retract there, and Aki just about to die. Now it's the Umbral Trespass, but it's given over. And you know what? OMG can walk into them too.
I have no words for this game. I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like the attempt from V5 was very blatant, and honestly, OMG could have stopped it if they just didn't send their jungle in. They did, and now V5 are with a massive lead in.
Yeah, Eric's dead. Like, why are you still there? They either go for the steal or they don't, and V5 just take it all. And suddenly, OMG behind about 5,000 gold. And the Baron in hand for V5 at 22 minutes in the game is a very good sign of life for this team in Game 1.
Definitely not the peak League of Legends that you're looking for right here. A lot of mistakes coming out from both teams. Honestly, OMG should have been nowhere near that Baron because they don't even have their jungler. They have zero chance of actually getting a smite right there, and they still give over 3 extra kills. This play, again, great start from ppgod. He gets the perfect knockback onto Cold. And this is fine so far if you preserve the jungle for the potential of a steal. This early on, you can still make it a 50-50, especially with that shadow step that Kayn can use to get into the back of the pit. Instead, Aki goes in for no reason. OMG follow up that throw with even more kills being handed onto V5 on a silver platter. And maybe I shouldn't talk about what should happen because these teams are truly defying expectations.
Yes, they are. Clement, your time as a play-by-play is being spent so wisely. Aki has now evolved, by the way. I'm not sure in what part of the fight because I don't think the last time we saw him, he was into an evolved state, but now he is. Explosive cast. Aki's in the wall for it, but there you go. Slam down as Wuming into the backline. They're heading on to Mole. The Umbral Trespass used really nicely, and Aki's actually made a play here. The world ended to try and continue it as OMG are going forward. That's a 2-man knockup. ppgod flashes away, pull back in, but it doesn't matter. Trigger and WeiWei still alive. The killer instinct follow up, and Eric, he's going to get bowling ball to the face. A double, ready to make it into the triple kill as V5 now can end the game.
This is going to be one of the fastest games and one of the few comeback games that V5 is actually going to experience this split. You know, we said it might be hopeless for them, but they prove us long with a massive Baron play and such a decisive game-ending team fight coming out of the bomb side.
V5 got one Nexus turret to go, but no one up and available to defend this, and it went from bad to great. And a good finish for V5. I don't know how to compliment this one, Clement, but I will say that V5 tallied up and fixed that error we saw in the mid lane. That's the main thing here. And V5 pulling out a win in their home arena to boot.
I just want to say, if you're going to have the Fiesta, at least have the decisive and short Fiesta. A short but sweet reprieve from some actual, like, 200 IQ League of Legends. This game, it was really weird. I do think that we have to compliment why this sequence of events did happen. I felt like V5 finally recognized that they're so damn strong in the 5v5s with their frontlining, and they just set up for that Baron play after a huge setback. And you have to give compliment to ppgod. He did find multiple crucial picks right there, killing Cold at the start of that fight, getting a perfect alley-oop in the bottom side just to kill Wuming right off the bat. So those were great plays, and really the main reason why why V5 were able to rebound from a massive mistake and still close this game out in 23 minutes.
It was a game that I think, you know, as soon as we saw that fight, as soon as we saw the advantage come through, it should have been maybe even over quicker, right? But for V5, you know, they bring it back, and I think that's a hell of important. I want to also reiterate that win percentage we talked about, you know, the 91% win rate went ahead at 15 is, you know, still true. We do find the win there at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think V5 actually were ahead at 15 minutes in this one too.
They were. Yeah. Hey Clement, I listened to you. I know, and you've helped me with this one, so I appreciate it. But at the very least, look, this was a good overall game from V5, and Aki never got into the game. I think this was a big case of jungle difference where WeiWei always had control, and with the help of Mole dominating the mid lane, there was nothing really OMG could do.
Yeah, I think it mainly did come down to that last pick. This is something when you take someone's pocket pick away from them, they typically have a counter. And this was the case for Mole. He last picks the Tristana after watching Wuming take away his Mole. And, Mole, his Ryze. And he was able to just punish that by constantly having priority and also syncing up with WeiWei to take away the Raptor camp. So we saw Aki being put down 40 CS and having like just, I think 4 or 5 orbs from 1 W onto Tristana out of the entire early game. A very, very bad game coming out from Aki. He definitely wanted that blue Kayn essence, so he didn't go top lane. He was constantly hovering around the bottom side and the mid lane, but he was pushed out because of the priority coming out from ppgod and also from Mole.
But props to Trigger and ppgod, I think, for playing the lane well, you know, not overstepping, playing cautious when they need to, when they should, rather than taking the risk. I think that's something that, you know, we can compliment them on. And for V5 holistically, a game won in the books that they should have won, that they did win, thankfully, after what we saw. We're going to go to a small break.